Have you ever walked into your own closet and felt like a stranger? I'm not talking about forgetting you owned a shirt or two. I mean standing there, under the cool glow of the LED lights, seeing a row of brand new clothes that aren't yours. They aren't your style. They aren't your brand. And when you pull a crisp, new polo shirt off the hanger, your heart sinks because you know, with absolute certainty, it's not even your size. My wife, Sarah, just smiled and said she donated my old stuff, that it was time for a style upgrade. But as I held that shirt, a size larger than I'd ever been, a cold dread washed over me. Whose style was she upgrading? If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 15 years, Sarah and I had built what I thought was a fortress. We lived in a beautiful brownstone in Chicago's Lincoln Park, just a few blocks from the zoo. Our life was a curated collection of inside jokes, shared dreams, and the comfortable silence that only comes with years of intimacy. Or so I believed. The shift was subtle at first. It started with her phone, that small, glowing rectangle that became a permanent extension of her hand. She'd angle it away from me, a quick, almost imperceptible tilt. She started having late nights at the office, which was strange for her marketing job. Then came the new gym membership at a high-end club in River North, a place she swore was for networking. I tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut. I was a structural engineer. I dealt in logic, in absolutes. Feelings were variables I couldn't quantify. I told myself I was being paranoid, that our marriage was strong. But the evidence kept piling up, like receipts I'd find in her car, for dinners for two at expensive restaurants on Rush Street, places we hadn't been to together in years. When I'd ask, she'd have a smooth, practiced answer. It was always a client dinner or a team celebration. She'd look me straight in the eye, her expression so earnest it almost convinced me. She became a master of gaslighting, making me feel like my questions were an attack, that my suspicion was the real problem in our marriage, not her behavior. She'd say things like, "Don't you trust me, Mark? After all this time, you think I'd do that to you?" And for a while, I'd retreat, ashamed of my own thoughts. The closet incident was the turning point. After she went to her yoga class, I went back in. I pulled out every new item, dozen shirts, all size large. I'm a medium, 3 pairs of jeans, a waist size 34. I'm a 32. Even a pair of expensive leather loafers, a size 11. I'm a 10. She hadn't bought me a new wardrobe. She had bought her lover a new wardrobe and hidden it in plain sight in my own home. The audacity of it stole my breath. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a profound act of disrespect. It was her saying, "You are so insignificant, I can replace you right in front of your face, and you won't even notice." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my home office, the city lights of Chicago twinkling outside my window, and I felt something inside me break. The love, the trust, the shared history, it all shattered into a million tiny pieces. The grief was a physical thing, a crushing weight on my chest. But as the sun began to rise over Lake Michigan, something else took its place. A cold, quiet resolve. If she wanted to destroy our world, I would make sure she was buried in the rubble. My planning began that morning. I became two people, the loving, slightly oblivious husband on the outside, and a meticulous, vengeful strategist on the inside. The first step was to identify him. It was easier than I thought. I installed a keylogger on our shared home computer. Within a day I had his name, David Keller. He was a financial analyst at a rival firm, cocky, handsome, in that generic country club way, and apparently size large. I found his social media profiles, which were filled with pictures of him on boats at galas, living a life funded by what I assumed was family money. They felt untouchable, flaunting their happiness while I was living in a quiet hell. Next, I needed proof, irrefutable proof. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who operated out of a small office in the Loop. He was expensive, but worth every penny. For 2 weeks, he tailed them. He got photos of them kissing outside a hotel on Michigan Avenue, holding hands in Millennium Park. Having intimate dinners in the West Loop. He even got audio recordings from a bug he placed in her car. Conversations filled with sweet nothings and complaints about me, how I was boring, predictable, how I didn't get her anymore. Each photo, each recording, was a fresh stab to the heart. But I filed them away in a secure digital folder. labeled Project Takedown. The final piece of my plan involved our finances. Sarah had always handled our investments, boasting about her knack for the market. We had a joint investment account worth a little over $2 million, our entire life savings. For weeks I feigned interest, asking her to teach me about our portfolio. She was smug about it, happy to explain the complex trades she was making, feeling superior. What she didn't know was that I was recording every one of these lessons. I also began meticulously moving my own inheritance money, which was legally separate, into a new private account. I contacted a bulldog of a divorce attorney, one of the best in Chicago, and laid out my case. He looked at the evidence I'd gathered, the PI reports, the audio recordings, the receipts, and a slow grin spread across his face. He told me, "Mark, we're not just going to win, we're going to annihilate her." The execution was set for our 16th wedding anniversary. Sarah planned a huge party at our house. She invited all our friends, her family, her colleagues, and, of course, the guys. She introduced him as a new, important client. He shook my hand, a firm, confident grip, and looked me in the eye with a pitying smile. The arrogance was staggering. They thought they were so clever. The party was in full swing. Laughter and music filled our Lincoln Park home. Sarah, glowing in a new dress, stood in the center of the living room to make a toast. She raised her champagne glass. "To my wonderful husband, Mark," she began, her voice dripping with fake affection. 16 years. Who would have thought we'd make it this far? The room chuckled. That was my cue. I walked to the large screen TV we had installed for a photo slideshow. "I actually have a little tribute of my own, honey," I said, my voice steady. I plugged my laptop into the HDMI port. Her smile faltered, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. The first image that flashed on the screen wasn't a nostalgic photo of our wedding. It was a crystal-clear shot of her and David, locked in a passionate kiss outside the Peninsula Hotel. A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. The music screeched to a halt. Before she could react, the next photo appeared, them holding hands in the park, then another, feeding each other dessert at a candlelit table. Then I played the audio. Clear as day, filled the silent room. "I can't wait to leave him. He's so clueless."
"Oh, you're everything he's not."
David, the world stopped. Sarah's face went from shock to panic to a ghostly white. David looked like he'd been punched in the gut, desperately searching for an exit. Her parents stared at her with horror. Her boss's jaw was on the floor. I let the silence hang for a moment. Then I spoke, my voice cold and clear. "The new clothes in my closet, Sarah? They're his size. You can pack them up for him. We'll both be needing them." Just then, a man in a suit stepped forward and handed Sarah a thick envelope. "You've been served," he said calmly. He then turned and handed another envelope to a stunned David. My lawyer had also filed a civil suit against him for alienation of affection, a remnant law in Illinois, but one that allowed for maximum public humiliation. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. She was fired the next day for unprofessional conduct and for having an affair with a competitor. Her family disowned her. Our friends, who had just witnessed her ultimate betrayal, wanted nothing to do with her. The divorce was brutal for her. With the evidence I had, she got nothing. The judge, a stern woman who clearly had no patience for her tearful performance in court, awarded me the house, the majority of the assets, and even made her liable for my legal fees. That investment portfolio she was so proud of, my lawyer proved she had made a series of reckless, unauthorized trades, losing a substantial amount of our joint money while trying to fund her lavish affair. She was left with her debt and her shame. The last I heard, she and David were living in a small apartment in a less than desirable suburb. He lost his job too. Their perfect world was gone. Sometimes late at night, I walk into my closet. All his clothes are gone, of course. My old comfortable clothes are back on their hangers. The silence in this big, empty house is deafening. I won. I got my revenge. He destroyed her life as completely as she tried to destroy mine. But as I stand there, in the quiet darkness, I can't help but feel the ghost of what we once had. I have my house, my money, and my dignity, but my home is no longer a home. The end.